Hey guys, welcome back to the Telecom Talk Show. Today we have with us Mr. Paul Atkinson. He's the CEO for STL's optical networking business. So, Paul, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And how are you doing?
Thank you, Tanay. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm very proud to be here on your Telecom talk for this afternoon.
Thank you, Paul. So, I would like to kick off this conversation by asking you. It hasn't been long since you joined STL and took up this role. So, since then, I guess it was September when you joined, and since then till now, how has the company performed according to you, and where is it steering towards?
No, good question. Look, I started on the 1st of September. I've obviously been in this industry for well over 23 years, and coming to STL has been an incredible experience. This is a company that has really started to invest many years ago. They've invested very heavily in optical fiber, and I have to say, probably have some of the best optical fiber plants I've seen anywhere in the world. They've invested very heavily in optical cable, and as part of their growth, particularly in the area that I'm looking after, they then acquired a number of companies, two in Italy, one Metallurgica, which is an optical cable manufacturer, and a manufacturer of very specialty cables for rolling stock. And then they acquired Optitech, which is a connectivity business, which really provided the end-to-end solution within the overall optical connectivity business. But I've got to say, Tanay, it hasn't stopped there, because the company still continues to invest in our solutions integrations business, and very focused on both India and the UK at present, and also in our access business, our access solutions business. There's significant investments here, really to capture the strength of PFTTX and also the expansion of ORAN. So I think from my side, it really has been an eye-opening experience what this fantastic local Indian company has. And I've got to say to you, you asked me about the future. This is a company that I believe in the next few years will be in the top 3 or 4 companies globally in its optical space.
Okay, that's great, Paul. So, Paul, like I had a question. How do you see India as a market? Because it's a developing nation and there are a lot of challenges with regards to optical fiber deployment and also. What does STL plan towards India, and what are the sort of short-term goals for the company?
Look, I think India is already on its way to become a digital economy. Yeah, it's ubiquitous and continuous connectivity really has reached many of humanity thanks to the forward thinking of your government back in the 1990s. I think it's time really now to look ahead for the next 30 years to the acceleration of the technological process of the digital realm. I think even when you account for COVID and you listen to what the World Bank expects of the Indian economy, and when we see this going to grow by a rate of 8.7% in the next fiscal year, and this is one of the highest in the world. And I've got to say, only adequate expenditure in the digital infrastructure can really fuel this expansion. So I think what you'll see in the next decade of network creation, where we're going to create that next leg of digital economy for India, fiber connectivity really is absolutely crucial. And STL plays a really important part here. And when you start to look at where India is, one of the key success factors will be taking the tower fiber densification from the current 34% to well over 80%. And I have to say, when you also start to look at fiber to the home and 5G, these cutting edge optical fibers have really become critical enablers for India really to take that next step. So look, I think it's India's poised for an incredibly exciting time. And even when you compare it with some of the initiatives that have been taken up by the Indian government in the last year, with the government rolling out that single window platform for end-to-end right-of-way process, And for those that don't know what the right-of-way process is, it's where a telecom operator or the telecom sector refers to the phone company's legal right to set up a network infrastructure such as towers or even optical fiber cables along a specific route. And these investments and opening up this right of way is very important, I think, for India. When you combine that with the rolling out of R&D and manufacturing incentives, particularly the production-linked incentive, which was announced during the union budget of some 4,300 CR, this is a really important step for many local Indian companies in the telecom space. And then you've got a whole lot of other aspects also, including the contracts for laying optical fiber in all of the villages, including remote areas, which will be awarded under the BharatNet project through PPP in 22 and 23. And I think with the completion expected in 2025, measures have really been taken to enable a better and more efficient use of optical fiber. So I think for STL, this is an incredibly exciting time, not just for the business that I run in optical connectivity, but also for our solutions business, where STL is a very major player in rolling out these telecom networks.
Right, Paul. So I agree with you. The same has been echoed by many industry experts. There's a dire need for densification of fiberized towers to make 5G a success. So Paul, for this to happen, there's also a need for skilled labor, right? Because I guess there's a shortage of skilled labor in India at the moment. So how do you think India should address this challenge, and what should the sector plan about it?
Look, I think we all have an obligation and a right to start training our people. The STL, and which is also part of the Vedanta group, invest incredibly in relation to training. They are spending enormous amounts of money in training our people, their families, and trying to upskill wherever we can. But that's only a small part, and I think everyone has a role to play in upskilling the workforce in India. And look, I think in a lot of ways, I also see what we're doing in terms of developing talent, particularly in our services business, where we've developed an enormous amount of talent in the UK, which has come from India. And this talent is being trained as it is rolling out open reaches infrastructure in the UK. So I think there is a lot of focus in trying to upskill the labour, and STL is only one of those companies that takes this incredibly important issue very, very seriously.
Okay, Paul. So I've got a very interesting question. Okay, so it might not make a lot of sense to you, but I've been thinking about this, and satcom is not very far from India. So once it arrives over the long run, do you think it will impact the growth of optical networking businesses in the country?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't know the sat nav you're talking about.
Yeah. Satcom, satellite communications sector. It is going to arrive very soon. Okay, maybe in 2022 only. So, do you think the presence of satcom will impact the growth of STL's optical networking business, or maybe other companies as well?
Oh, look, I think it's certainly another one of those key drivers. If you look at what's happening now around the world, you've got these multi-year network build cycles happening all over the world. And basically, it's really 3 investment cycles. And as you say, Satcom's only one of those. But then when you look at 5G, fiber to the X, then the digital transformation of the enterprises, and you add all of this together, not only is it going to benefit the need for optical fiber, the need for optical fiber cable, but also for open source networking and programmable FTTX. So look, I don't think it will inhibit it. So the answer to that is no. I think it will complement it, yes. But I've got to say, the outlook of this industry over the next 10 years is only looking promising and continuing to grow. And look, just a couple of points here, Tanay. If you look at take the UK, for example. You've got Openreach planning to roll out 25 million homes by 2026. You've got Natomia and Hyperoptic planning to roll out between 1 and 3 million homes within the next 12 to 24 months. You look at the US. The US, you've got AT&T endeavoring to roll out to 30 million premises by 2025. And then when you combine that with the level of spending in the network, so particularly in the US, AT&T is spending between 16 and $20 billion of capex. Fiber Corps in Europe going to cover nearly 60 million Italian homes by 2026. And then you look at the federal and the government spending, which is phenomenal, I've got to say. United States are spending $125 billion on fiber to the home in the next 5 years. Italy is providing incentives up to $2 billion for 5G, and Germany $12 billion for this gigabit connectivity part of the industry. Yeah, so I've got to say, yes, satcom, highly important, but with the level of investment going into the infrastructure around the world, this industry really is poised for significant growth over the coming next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, got it, Paul. Thank you for that answer. So my next question to you, Paul, is Indian telecom operators and internet service providers are aggressively expanding their businesses. So what kind of exponential products does STL has in plans for the future, and how is it going to help the companies in offering better
Oh, look,
services?
oh, no, absolutely. I think let's start with the product and let's start right back at the fiber. So STL is really investing in its fiber technology and has developed some of the world's best fiber technology. We've just recently launched a product called Stellar, which is a very high-end, highly developed bend sensitivity product. Then the next step, we're also investing very heavily in the cables. So at the moment, a lot of these operators, internet providers, etc., they're looking for higher density in a smaller space. Yeah. So we have developed this integrated bonded ribbon technology, which allows far more product in a very smaller diameter to go into. This not only benefits companies like Airtel or Rio, but it also benefits companies like Amazon or Google in the data center space. Yeah, and when fiber density becomes really important, this is where STL's technology and innovation is really being focused on. Then take the next step, you need connectivity, yeah, and then this is where our Opticon solution comes into play. So not only do we have the fiber, not only do we have the high-end cable, but we also have the connectivity. And when you put the solution together, the benefit then becomes to the installer, because the range of products that also STL is working on is to be able to install product far quicker and far more simpler. And the benefit of that to the telecom operator is obviously a reduced cost, because you'll end up installing these products 25% faster and developing far greater, how do I say, bandwidth of fiber when it comes to the installation process. So this is very, very much on top of our mind. And this is where STL has an incredible strength, because not only does it have the product from fiber all the way through to cable, it also has the service systems integration business, the installation, where we learn the strengths and opportunities of really reducing the total cost of ownership.
Okay, Paul. So, this will be my last question to you. In your personal views, if India has to become one of the biggest digitally connected nations, what sort of challenges it needs to address? So I know you have already talked about the ROW challenges and all. So those are definitely there. But, is India actually on track of doing that? And can we become the biggest digitally connected nation in the world?
Look, I think the answer to that's yes. And I think, look, India also, I failed to mention before, really is driving this development of 6G technology, yeah, where your Department of Telecommunications has developed this 6th generation or 6G innovation work group. which is then getting the best of the best to start to think of what the next solution is going to be in this telecom industry. I think the Indian government really has shown 30 years ago with the investments of starting. One thing I will say is that India's per capita fibre coverage is about 0.09. And if you compare that to China, which is about 0.87, but even looking at the US and Japan, which is about 1.3, I think India still has a long way to go. So my message is very simple. Continue to still invest in the infrastructure. But when you're investing in the infrastructure, make sure that you are putting the product and the installation at the highest quality. Don't go for cheap to get the infrastructure in. Invest in technology, invest in the innovation, because you're actually building a network for the next 30 years, yeah? And I think this is a really critical, important for all governments and all telecom operators around the world to look. So I think all in all, I think India really is poised to become as you say, up there with the best in terms of telecom network. I still think there's some way to go. But I think with the plan and the government focus and the Department of Telecommunications focus, I think over the next 3 to 5 years, this is going to be quite significant in seeing India take that next step and getting fibre to everyone's home in India.
Right. Thank you, Paul. So that will be all from my side. Thank you so much for your time. If there's anything else that you would like to add here, would be welcome to hear it.
No, Tanay, I know it's a public holiday there in India, so thank you very much for taking the time. And look, on behalf of STL, it's a real pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to talk to you about this wonderful and incredible company that I work for.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. It was a great listening to you. Great insight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.
You do, man.